In this podcast, we chat about the win against Blackpool, look ahead to Cardiff, and answer your podcast questions. Happy 30th birthday, Tom. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is our Boro Matchday chatter in a pod.
Wants support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Johnny, Dana and Tom. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday chatter in a podcast. And yesterday was a day of threes. Boro won 3-0 against Blackpool, got 3 points, were third in the championship table. And Tom turned the big 3-0. Well, it is today, but we celebrated his 30th birthday last night. And happy
birthday,
30th
Tom.
birthday to Tom. Look at all those lovely photos we've got of you there, Tom, from your dad. So that was nice to see. But to celebrate the threes, I'm going to ask you how you're feeling in 3 words. Tom Green, since it's your birthday, also 1, happy birthday, and 2, how are you feeling in 3 words?
I mean, don't know, just hanging out my arse at the moment. But my 3 words football-wise would be, am I dreaming? Because, I mean, I keep expecting for something to go wrong, as is probably the Boro way, and it hasn't, yes. The last 2 games especially, we've played absolutely fantastically, and it just... it's going so well, and with the standard Boro pessimism, you just always like, all right, what's going to come next? Are we going to get beat 7-0 at some point or something like that? But no, everything's just so good at the moment. It's not what I'm used to as a Boro fan. So yeah, living in dream world.
And how are you feeling in 3 words outside of football? Very, very rough, maybe.
I don't think he has the words.
He doesn't.
No, I could barely think of the 3 words for me football-related one, so I can't fit it all into 3 words for outside of it.
Yeah, fair enough then. And we do have a video of you singing Snow Patrol coming up in the show later on. Anyway, no, we don't really. Dana, how are you feeling in 3 words?
Mine's quite similar to Tom's, actually. I'm going to say pinch me, guys, because this is just, how have we found ourselves in this position where we've got the championship's top scorer and it's Chuba Akpom? I don't think anybody would have expected that before a ball was kicked this season. We're third in the championship. We keep playing well. We keep getting good results. And even when, as I said, even when we do get those knockbacks, we come straight back up. And it's just brilliant to watch us at the moment. And yeah, hopefully this continues, because I echo what Tom says there. There's always that little pessimistic Perry at the back of your mind thinking, oh God, where's this absolute hammering going to come from? And let's forget about that. Let's forget about that and just enjoy what it is right now. And we're cooking. We're going sizzler, as you've said, Johnny.
Yes, and my 3 words are, you know what it is. The listeners know what it is. We're going sizzler, aren't we? Because we're fucking mint.
I was feeling really bad for swearing last week, and yous have done it twice in the space of 4 minutes.
I know, we'll bleep if we can. But anyway, we are mint, and we'll dissect that the game now then, because Michael Carrick named an unchanged 11 to face Blackpool, and we won 3-0. Chuba Akpom got 2. He really wants that book deal at Cleveland Centre. You can see it in his eyes when he celebrates. But obviously, Paddy McNair rounded off a really good win from a set piece as well, a set piece of all things, to beat McCarthy's Blackpool. Dana, how would you assess the win against Blackpool?
Well, I just want to preface this by saying that we were out last night celebrating Tom's birthday. So any mistakes that I make, I'm going to put them down to the probably too many double vodka lemonades that I had at the cricket club in Billingham last night. But I thought we were really, really good. Really good. We were dominant. I think this was a game where the main theme of it was attacking the key spaces. Blackpool, I thought, were better than Watford last game. They had a lot more midfield structure, but still Boro were able to pick up those key pockets. And 3 really good goals, really well worked goals, particularly the second one. And it was just a game where you're watching us and you're thinking, yeah, we're pretty good here, aren't we? You know, we're a good team in a good moment. And I thought that in terms of playing between the lines, trying to get into those key areas to be able to operate, to be able to thread key passes in, we were fantastic. And we got away with it a little bit. I do think we have to acknowledge the Jerry Yates header that hit the crossbar. So it was sort of between the both of them, wasn't it? Crossbar and the post, because that came at 1-0. So I think that was a really important moment. But again, you know, in game moments where Boro are under the cosh a little bit, we're good enough to be able to negotiate that and come back and, you know, score 2 goals after. So really good, really happy with that performance. I must admit, it's a bit hazy because of last night, but just really happy.
Tom, how are you feeling about it as well?
Yeah, I mean, also hazy. I've had to go and rewatch the highlights about 5 times this morning to just remember what happened yesterday. But yeah, I would agree with Dana there that Blackpool did play better than Watford last week. I think they made us work harder for the results, and I did think as soon as we got the first one, which was a hell of a finish by Akpom. I had such a good view of it from my seat in the northeast corner. It's like right in line with the post that it just went in the inside of. But I think as soon as we got that, I said to my mates at the time, like, there's more goals in this now because they're just going to be forced to attack more and probably lose a little bit of structure, because they were really well structured at the start of the game, I would say. And yeah, I think that really allowed us to get on the front foot even more and play, you know, even more of, you know, just quality football. I think it was all summed up by that second goal. I can't even, you know, imagine the work that's gone in to kind of get those type of passing patterns together in game situations. But that was such a good goal to watch.
It was, and to be honest, all of Boro's play yesterday was really good. I thought we were really impressive yesterday. I think, you know, Blackpool played into our hands a little bit with their shape and but to be fair, you got to beat teams that come in with a low block 5-3-2 setup, and we took the game to them, and we were really, really good, you know, in and out of possession, won the ball back really quickly when we lost it. We limited counter attacks, which is normally quite good for a 5-3-2. And when we were on the ball, we were able to create a lot of space, you know, pull the defense apart, be really good in individual moments. And it looked like we were really good in the transition as well. And there's just so much positivity, I think, in around the team at the moment, and also how we're playing as well. I think you can't fault how we're playing. And obviously one of the big improvements as well is 3 clean sheets in 4, Tom. You know, a few weeks ago, I remember like discussing the podcast where we had a few questions like, why can we not defend anymore? Why are we conceding goals? But since then, chances have started to decrease against us, and also clean sheets have started to happen. So how do you think Boro turned this around defensively?
I think it's maybe just the fluidity you get from playing in that system more and more. I did always think it was going to click for us eventually with the clean sheets. You know, I think we had the right sort of structure at the back. It was just trying to cut out, you know, little mistakes, and you know the goals we were conceding. We were outscoring teams at the time for the most part, so it was never like too much of a major worry. But I can really understand that, you know, you'd want the clean sheet as well as the amount of goals we were scoring as well. And like you say, it's probably just gone from working the training ground, working matches, just to cut out little individual errors and, you know, maintain that structure and just get used to playing it really, and hopefully it continues for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it obviously it takes a lot of time. I think it's just been a case of fine tweaks, hasn't it? Rather than over like big changes that people can expect or maybe float around. I think we've just done tweaks under Carrick, and we've really benefited from it. But I kind of want to talk about Blackpool for just a moment, because I thought they played into Boro's hands a little bit yesterday. You know, with the 5-3-2 shape. You know, with a 5-3-2, it's a very defensive formation, like very defensive. What you tend to see with teams like who play in this shape is, you know, they're very weak, going out wide, and because you have a limited width. But also, what it does give you, it gives you a nice little base, like defensive base. It's going to give you an opportunity to sit back and defend for long periods, limit space, and also use triangles if you are looking to try and get up the pitch on a counter. And what I've seen yesterday, obviously from the average position side of things from Blackpool, is they were very narrow, but with that narrow space, it gave Boro so much opportunity to play through the wings, and we occupied a half space really well. So what Boro were doing yesterday, and I think everyone could see it, was there was a one common theme when Boro were trying to get in the ball and try and play. And obviously this is the big negative of 5-3-2, because 5-3-2, when you are compact, you do leave space out wide, but also when you pull defenders out, it creates space in that half space for a ball to come through. Like a slight diagonal pass through where you'll see Marcus Force and you'll see Ryan Giles just pull down that wing and really stretch teams and helps teams get in behind. Marcus Force is a prime example of it. He likes to play in between that left centre back and the left full back, and he'll just run through that little gap of space, and will create opportunity for the likes of Akpom and Archer. But also with Boro's first goal as well, it was really good play from us as well, because Cameron Archer, what he was able to do yesterday was just peel off one of the centre halves, and we were able to get ahead, and it was a lovely goal from us. But just one final point on Blackpool: if you are going to play a 5-3-2, you need to have an outlet. And when the second half, when you did have that outlet, you were creating chances, but for some reason or whatever, I think McCarthy did in that first half, just when you're constantly defending, you are going to concede eventually, because you need to attack at some sort of point. Because what's the point, like in playing ref? Like, do you know what I mean? If you are gonna, if you are gonna play that system, you need a much better outlet than what you are doing. I think you've got the quality there in the squad, but I think 5-3-2 is a killer. I generally do. I don't think a team should look to do that unless you've got a really, really good midfield. And I just don't think that they have the quality there. But let's talk about the first goal, Tom, because I was saying there, Cameron Archer came into play. They played the ball back to Hackney, and Chuba Akpom scored an absolute worldie. It was a lovely bit of play from Boro, wasn't it?
It was, and I mean, I've rewatched it, like I say, quite a few times this morning. But it actually stands out to me the start of that kind of phase of play, where it was pretty much head tennis over the halfway line, because there were people around me who were just like, get on the floor, get it on the floor. It comes down eventually, and Howson picks great pass through to Archer, which I think kind of just really shows the impact of this system. I think, because you look at how he was playing in the Wilder system earlier in the season, he would have more likely looked to play it safe around that point and not play the forward pass. But great pass through the lines to Archer. First touch just knocks it back to Hackney, and that's again great. It really kind of shows the tactical fluidity. He hasn't tried to just kind of like hold the ball up and turn there or anything like that. Knocking it back to Hackney, he was already on the run, creates a 4-on-4, gets it to Akpom on the left-hand side. And just from that position, I remember watching it in the stadium thinking, he's not scoring from here. Like, I was wondering what he was trying to do, trying to make an angle, and then just he couldn't have hit that any better. And like I say, I was right in line with the inside of the post where that went in, just such a view of it, and could just see it curling. And it was like FIFA 13 finesse goal, like everyone used to abuse, wasn't it? Like, as soon as he hit it, you're just like, right, that's going in.
Yeah. Honestly, when you're in form like that, you know, anything happens, doesn't it? Like you create your own luck. But the second goal then wasn't luck at all. It was just brilliant from Boro, wasn't it? Like really, really good football.
Yeah, honestly, we're having a goal of the season competition under Michael Carrick. It's quite something. You know, the way that we crafted these goals are brilliant. But it starts with Zach Steffen, and I do have to pinpoint the importance of this, because you will see quite often that the centre backs will split. There's a pass towards Johnny Howson that becomes available. It's either that, the straight pass along the floor to the central area, or a lofted ball out wide for a first time flick on. We do see that a lot with Zach Steffen's distribution, and that is really, really important. And he's a big, big part of that, is Zach Steffen. So this move progresses. Tommy Smith makes a run forwards, and that pulls out the press. It's sort of a half-assed press, I'm not going to lie, from Blackpool. Howson's able to evade it by just opening up that angle there for Tommy Smith, passes out wide to the right flank. And then from that point onwards, the visitors were chasing. You know, you've got Lavery and Patino there that attempted that press on Howson as he received the ball from Zach Steffen. They're not able to get to him in time, basically takes them out of the game. They're already kind of at a disadvantage because they are chasing back. And then Akpom takes up a really, really good position. And as I said, the theme of this game was creating space and attacking the space. So Akpom comes really deep. He's pretty much level with the edge of the centre circle in our own half. And I think because of that, Blackpool narrow in midfield. And obviously, as you mentioned, Johnny, they were quite narrow anyway. But then to sort of negate the influence of Akpom in that move, they do condense, and what that does is it creates the space out wide on the flanks, and in particular the right flank for this. Hackney's on the ball at this point. He's able to progress the attack with a pass out to Tommy Smith. And then what I absolutely love about the construction of this goal is just how effective we were at being able to move. The fluid movement off the ball, we saw it throughout the entirety of this game. You know, third man runners, getting people like McGree into key positions, Hackney and House as well. Playing in behind, Cameron Archer was really important to this as well, because although he didn't score in that game yesterday, he was able to pull centre halves out of their positions, make them uncomfortable, stretch them, get in behind. So I think he's kind of changed the dynamic of our attack, which is really important as well. But in this move, McGree gets pressed by Tom Tribal, and he works it really, really well, does McGree, because he's able to feed a pass into Akpom and then makes a run beyond Tribal to initiate the 1-2 with Chuba Akpom. And he gets it into the box. And you know what? When we were doing the research for the Aaron Ramsey pod, I did make a note that Riley McGree had not registered an assist this season, which I was quite surprised at. But this was his first assist of the season, and it's a very, very good one. He nutmegs Curtis Nelson with a pass that's met by Akpom. Again, the run, knowing exactly where they are to be. And it's just brilliant. It honestly is brilliant. He applies the finish, and yeah, we're all singing, we're all dancing. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal. Still, I don't think anything could top the Blackpool goal from the reverse fixture at Bloomfield Road, but that's cutting it very close. It was a fantastically crafted piece of football with a fantastic finish from Chuba.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And, you know, I think, obviously, it's kind of the reverse of the malt curse, really, to understand that he hasn't got an assist and now we get to one. So maybe we...
To be fair, I didn't mention that on the Aaron Ramsey pod, but it was in my notes.
Well, there we go. That's why we keep them in the notes.
I might have done, actually. I can't remember.
Not on the pod.
Who knows?
I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, not like even the goal as well. Then it even shows like that the narrowness of Blackpool as well. Like that when the amount of times we're able to create 2v1s on the wing was pretty criminal. But again, really well worked goal. McGree was excellent yesterday as well. But I feel like we need to talk about him because Chuba Akpom, because 17 goals in all competitions this season. I cannot believe I'm saying that. I think we do have something on Twitter or on a podcast where Tom says if he scores over 20 goals, he gets a tattoo of Chuba Akpom. Is that right? I believe there's something there's something in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take no responsibility for that. I was about 8 pints of Stella deep at that point, so.
Not Stella.
Well,
that's what they were serving at the Riverside.
Well, Tom, I just tweeted drunkenly last night about Mick McCarthy, just because I thought it'd be funny. And now, see, I'm getting heat for it. No, I feel like you need to get heat for it. If he scores 20 goals, Chuba, I know you're listening. Can we have an autograph? And then we'll get like the autograph printed on Tom's arm or something, or on your butt cheek.
I thought you were going to say that, to be honest.
And then it is there. It's there for good, you know. But yeah, anyway, 17 goals in all competitions this season. Then what's been making Chuba so unplayable? Is it the fact that he wants that book deal in the Cleveland Centre? Is that the motivation that is driving him to do so?
Olivia in our Telegram chat said that they're they're evicting Bernie from Mackey's on Linthorpe Road as we speak, which made me howl. But you know what? This is down to Chuba. You know, people will say, "Oh yeah, well, you know, Michael Carrick saw something in him to play him in a deep position." Absolutely. But this is mostly down to Chuba Akpom, and I cannot stress that enough. You know, the work that he has done. And when he was speaking to Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as part of the League of 72 YouTube series before the TEESSIDERS derby, he was just basically saying that he's looking at players like Lewandowski, Haaland, you know, players that are, you know, world-class strikers. He's analysing their game. And he also mentioned that he's watching the Premier League 100 clubs. So these Premier League strikers that have, you know, have hit that milestone, it's all his work. And, you know, 15 games, 13 goals under Michael Carrick. He's averaging a goal every 102 minutes under him. And interestingly, he'd only scored 12 goals in England before this season, 5 with Boro in 2020-21, and then 7 with Hull in 2015-16. This is unprecedented. Nobody would have expected this from Chuba Akpom, but it's really down to his hard work, his application, his graft, his analysis as well. Really important. He mentioned he's working on XG. So for those naysayers that say that XG is nonsense, it isn't. It works in football. It might be a flawed system in people's opinion. That's a completely fine opinion. I do agree with it to a certain extent. But he's looking at you know, how to get into those areas that basically maximizes that XG, maximizes the potential for a goal scoring opportunity. He's 1 goal away from reaching Patrick Bamford's 17 league goal season in the playoff season. Of course, Patrick Bamford, the last player to come close to reaching 20, and he's 4 off reaching 20 in the league. Just a really fantastic striker. I'd say the best performing player in the championship at the moment. Not just his goals, but his ability to dictate play, to dictate attacks, to drop deep, to pin players, to turn. His strength, his technical ability, his overall quality is unlike anything I've ever seen from Akpom and from a lot of Boro strikers. And yeah, Chuba Akpom is on everybody's mind at the moment.
He is. But also it's on my mind, apart from why did we have those shots last night, was Boro's like attacking fluidity, to be honest. And Tom, like we've played very direct football over like the last few years, you know, under Neil Warnock, Tony Pulis. It was slightly direct at times. But under Michael Carrick and obviously a little bit under Chris Wilder as well. We've got some real attacking fluidity and being able to play different combinations and get in behind teams and adjust how we play. How would you think we're doing that at the moment? How is it looking so good going forward?
Well, I think it's utilising the strengths of all of our attacking players, plus being coached to play more intelligently. I think, you know, looking at the first part of the season under Wilder, there was a lot of possession for possession's sake, I would say. And I mean, even though that the XG stats were probably quite positive, you know, for and against, we were underperforming on both. So it wasn't in a particularly good place at that point. And when Carrick's came in, you know, we've seen the coaching videos and stuff like that. You can tell that influence has really kind of rubbed off on the players. I think, you know, looking at that first goal yesterday, as I mentioned, that just first touch pass from Archer to Hackney to kind of open up that 4-on-4. That's not something we're even kind of used to seeing, you know, that kind of level of intelligent play. So I think it really is the impact of the coaching on these players since Carrick's come in. And like I said, just being coached to play in that more intelligent way. But because we're doing that, it's allowing our attacking threats to be in the right positions at the right time to kind of like really utilize their talents.
Yeah, I'd agree. And also just to add to it as well, like players, who bring different contributions in the game, like Tommy Smith, in his overlapping runs, like little tweaks with how we're playing forward. It's just like little things like that which are helping us be a bit more fluid in possession, but also. One of a really important player is Zach Steffen in all of it. I know we said at the start, like although he's your goalkeeper, the amount of play that we have. I think Denny, you showed it earlier on one of your first or second graphics, but the pattern that we play where Stefan will play the ball at the house and all one of our centre halves, and then that will trigger a run by Tommy Smith, and it's just a little pattern like that which creates so much fluidity and opens a team up, and it's really nice to see. And I'm very excited to see where we're going with all this. But go on, Dana.
I do want to ask a question I asked in our Telegram chat, just open it up towards the listeners. Are you enjoying Michael Carrick's football now more than you did the best of Chris Wilder? Because honestly, I am. I think there's a lot more variation to it. And don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy Wilder ball and the best of it. And it gave us some really good moments despite how that tenure ended. But the way that we're playing now under Carrick, I much prefer, because I just think there's a lot more variety to it. As Tom said, I think it was possession for possession's sake at times under Chris Wilder, where it was like you're sort of recycling the ball, whereas now I think we can attack through the middle. And before we kind of were a little bit one-dimensional. I remember us mentioning it. We need something else on the left because, attacking predominantly down the wings, but it was predominantly down the right, wasn't it? With those, the triangles, Crooks, Dyke-Steele and Jones. But then nullifying that, what was there in the team? And don't get me wrong, there were other, threats, I guess. But I just feel like there's a lot more variety here and a lot more to throw at other teams when they're trying to sort of combat us and to nullify our threats.
Yeah, probably to answer your question, like for me, yeah, I would probably agree. I am enjoying it more. It is definitely. It feels more laid back, if that makes sense. Like Wilder seeing a bit more heavy metal football, trying to get the pitch a little bit quicker. Was possession based at times. We said there on like playing for possession state reasons. But yeah, it feels a bit more laid back, a little bit more controlled, enjoyable. For fans because you don't really see teams get us on the counter attack as much now as we have done previously. And I think that's just due to the slight tweak of the formation, but it's still technically a threat most of the time. But anyway, I'm not going to get to that today. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm enjoying it. And to be fair, like when I set my teams up and the way I like my teams to play, and also if I'm playing online or like gaming or anything like that, I've always played really heavy possession-based football. Not Scott Parker style possession-based football, where it's like 99% possession and you don't score. But control, just like very controlled football is just the way to go. It's enjoyable, relaxing, but it takes a lot of effort. And as we'll peel the layers of Michael Carrick's Boro over like hopefully the next few months and years, we'll see how layered it actually is and how much it brings to the table, because we're only scratching the surface of how he's playing at the moment, and he's only really introducing one or two things maybe every month or every week, and there's just small tweaks, and that's all you need, that 1%, and I think that's what's making us really, really good. But yeah, I would probably say I'm enjoying his football probably more at the moment, I think. But it'll be interesting to see what the listeners think. Let us know in the comments, and also tweet us and do all that fun stuff. But since I'm going to go into that, let's do questions, because each week you get to send us a question via Twitter at Boro_breakdown, by email at borobreakdown@hotmail.com, or lastly, joining our Telegram chat with over 300 Boro fans. Look, I'll be honest, they don't really talk about Boro. We do sometimes. But it's just all fun and games in there, But the first question, it's on email, and it's from James. He says, "Hey team, love the pod. Was interesting to hear your thoughts on Boro's transfer strategy and going forward. It looks really good, but it does sound like a championship strategy. Do you think it changes if we get promoted this season? You rightly said that we don't want to spend mega money on players these days, but if we do go up, that might have to change. £15 million is our record signing. I think it was 16 on the Brit. I think it might be 15, 16. Anyway, 20 million between friends. What's that,
You turned into Boro there when they released that statement, jabbing at the Gazette.
How dare you? How dare you tell us how much we spent? Anyway, and if it rounds off and he says you don't get much for £15 million at the top level these days. What's your thoughts? So thanks for that, James, and he's from the Isle of Man as well. So thank you very much for sending that in, James. Who wants to take this one? Dana Malt, you can take this one. Go on. What do you think? Do you think Boro's strategy will change?
I think it has to if we go up, because you're competing with, top European teams. We are probably at the top of the food chain in the EFL when it comes to, I guess, overall package. You're playing under Michael Carrick, who's, had an illustrious career, played at such a high level, and you are a really good placed team. Third in the championship. Even when the window was still open, I think we still were third, right? Just before it closed, and we were in and around the top six, or in the top six, should I say? So a really good prospect there for any player that's wanting to get a move in the January transfer window. But in the summer, if we are a Premier League team, obviously we have a war chest of money to spend. Forest spending God knows how much on about 30 players. They've had about 3 different teams in the space of like 6 months. But it will change, because it has to, because circumstances will change. But okay, we're not up yet. I don't know if the question actually mentioned. Did it mention if we go up?
Yeah, if we go up, will it change? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it will, because it'll have to. But I don't want to say that I trust it, but I'm starting to trust the recruitment process a little bit more. I know there's a certain person in our YouTube comments that doesn't agree, that seems to hate Kieran Scott, but no, I think we've just got to trust that this will sort of unravel in a really good way, and I think it will.
Tom, I want to hear your thoughts on that as well. What do you think? Do you think it'll change?
I think it will, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with the statement that it said 15 million doesn't get you a lot in the top flight. I think you look at teams like Brentford and Brighton and the way they conduct the business, especially Brighton signing of, and I'm going to forget his name again, Hitoma, is it the winger? Mitoma, yeah. 3.2 million for him. I'd read, wouldn't it?
Something in the way the Brighton operate, it'll be something crazy like that, and he is some player.
Yeah, turns out there was a bug on your screen, and it was just like, it says 32 million, but you just missed it.
But I think that does go to show that that kind of strategy of finding these kind of unpolished gems and coaching them into that type of player, it can work, and you don't have to spend a great deal. And I think especially if you're trying to be that club that does develop players and then sell them on for massive profit, I think 5-10 years down the line, when you've become sustainable off the back of that, and you've been bringing in high fees for players, then potentially that transfer strategy can change a little bit more, and you can spend a little bit more on players. But I think it definitely would change if we were to get promoted. But I would like to see it kind of more in the mold of a Brentford or Brighton type strategy.
Yeah. And to round off, I think for me, I don't think the concept will change. I don't think the way, I think, and the idea, I think Boro's way of doing deals is going to be sustainability first now. It'll always have that sustainability about it, but also bringing in tweaks and players that we can really develop and also sell for big profit. I think that will still be the heart of what we do. It'll be a collective strategy. Are the fees going to be bigger? Possibly, if you're in the Premier League, because it's Premier League money. But like Tom, you were saying there, like, there is players out there. Like, the game has changed so much over the last 20 years. The scouting networks are much more in depth. Everyone has a good analysis of different leagues, and there's just so much talent. Like the Belgian league for me, like it's so good at times, and I'm not surprised by like Burnley signings like coming on really good, because that league is just full of young Belgian players that are really good in and out of possession, and really obviously they're being brought up to play that style now, and I think it's really good. Obviously, like I said, that's just one league, but there is loads of different leagues where you can get low fees. sell them on for a lot, and there's already proof there, isn't there, like you both said. But the next question, it's from Oprud, and he says, "Are we in a better place than we were during the Karanka era?" Dana, are we?
I think
Yes or
time will
no?
tell.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think time will tell. It's probably one that you look back on in retrospect and say yes or no. I don't think we can answer it right now because we're in the middle of the process. But we certainly feel like we're in a good moment. Much like how we were in the promotion season under Karanka. But yeah, things unraveled quite quickly in that eventual Premier League season, didn't there? So yeah, I'm not sure right now, but we can probably answer that in reflection a little bit later.
Okay, the next question is from Mike. I'm going to come to you, Tom. And he says, "Has McNair took Dale Fry's starting place? I mean, he's played well the last couple of games, but is it going to be a permanent change, Tom? What do you think?"
I don't think anything's permanent, but I think the thing he has
so deep for this podcast. We're all just living beings.
It's the hangover talking. That's what. Yeah, I would say he's taking the starting place for now. He's done well in the last couple of games, and obviously getting a goal yesterday. Fry's been absent from suspension, and now the onus is on Fry to work his way back into the team and take his chance when it comes. But at the same time, if McNair keeps performing, then it's going to be difficult for Fry to get back in the team.
I want to stick with you as well. There's a question from Ellis, and he says, "Is Tommy Smith our unsung hero for the past few weeks?" What do you think, Tom? Is he?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, he's been absolutely quality at right back, especially the last couple of games. I think it was against Watford. Did Tees give a man of the match for that?
They did.
Yeah, he was absolutely unplayable there, and he was really, really good yesterday as well. And what I also like about Tommy Smith is that influence you can see he has with the other players, much like Darrell Lenihan as well. They're both kind of really commanding leader type players, and you can see them every time we score, which thankfully is quite often now. And they come and celebrate in front of the north stand, northeast corner. It's always them two are the most vocal and firing everyone up and congratulating everyone and stuff. So, I love seeing that in a team having those sorts of characters.
He almost scored one hell of a goal yesterday as well. It's like very Luke Young against Spurs. He cut it so perfectly, and that would have been, honestly, I think if that would have gone in, it would have been goal of the season. And just the way that it was flying towards the top corner. Goalkeeper, how dare he do his job?
I know. To be fair, that was quite funnily. I was going to say that one of my mentions in the praising place was the strike from Tommy Smith. So I just
sorry, Johnny.
It's fine.
I'm just completely David Nugent that, didn't I?
Absolutely Nugent me. But speaking of David Nugent, actually, there's no relevance of David Nugent at all. But good week at Sheffield United. We got this question loads in our comments. And it was, can we catch Sheffield United? We got asked it last week, and I feel like we're going to keep getting asked this question each week. And I'm just intrigued to see if our answers change. We said no last week, but now the points are down to 10. Mikey sent us a message, and he said, Boro's next run of games are Boro, Millwall. Sorry, Sheffield United's fixture. Sorry, Boro, Millwall.
Playing Boro.
Yeah. It's all right. We're just playing our reserve team. Us, Millwall, Watford, Blackburn, Reading, Luton, Sunderland, West Brom, Norwich. So they're all top sides, are all in and around it. But can we catch Sheffield United? Let's go ask for a yes or no. Yeah, Tom, what do you think? Can we catch Sheffield United?
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no. I'm going to Bramall Lane in a couple of weeks. I haven't seen us win away this season, so I'll have to take the full blame for this.
Thanks for that, Tom. Dana, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, a change week on week.
Yeah, I'll say no next week. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, thanks for that curse, Dana. And the final question, I don't want to spend too long on it. It's from LDGD, and he says, what do you think of Mr. Wilder's comments? Obviously, Mr. Wilder, aka Chris, came out in the papers this week and said that he was doing a great job, left a great side for Michael Carrick. He regrets obviously the Burnley link, but we all know you're going to try and take the job anyway. So I don't know why you're apologising now. But what do you think of it? Obviously, the PR Chris Wilder train is clearly out at the moment for him to get a new job. But what do you think, Dana? Any thoughts and feelings on it?
Yeah, I'm just reading it now. He says, looking back, I should have shut it down, obviously referring to the Burnley rumours. I accept that, but I think it's quite lazy to say that I took my eye off the ball or anything like that. It's bullshit. Ask those players if I took my foot off the gas in pre-season or in that changing room. We had a difficult summer window, there we go. But in my opinion, the team was playing okay and everything was telling me results would turn. I mean, that partly, obviously, data-wise, we were high up in terms of expected goals, expected assists. I do think they have some weight when it comes to, the turning around of seasons. I think you've seen that with ourselves. You've seen that with West Brom, who are also quite high placed in terms of that. But I don't know. I went to the CBS at Coventry, his final game, and I saw a side that looked disconnected from its manager. So I think he did take his foot off the gas. I think his eyes were firmly towards another club. And that's what I think as a fan. So, yeah, I think reverse bullshit on Chris Wilder there. I think he did take his foot off the gas.
Tom, have you got anything to add on to that?
Yeah, he's definitely trying to control the narrative of it all, isn't he? And just get a little bit of positive PR to try and find a new job. I reckon it's probably been hard for him since he's left Boro, and unfortunately for him, he ended up doing commentary on a Burnley game. So maybe that's his future career now. But it's just him trying to control the narrative. I think the only thing I can slightly agree with is that the squad was in a good place, but I don't think that had very much to do with Wilder in terms of the squad that was built. I mean, you look at like Marcus Forss, who Wilder was pretty much refusing to play and saying he was a development striker, and now he's got goal involvements on about half his games under Carrick. So I think the building of the squad during the summer seemed to be very little to do with him, and I think if he's saying we've left a good squad, I think the credit there really needs to go to the recruitment team. And early in the season, like Dana said, all the data was supporting them, but it definitely did seem like he might not even think he's taking his foot off the gas, but it might have just been a completely wrong style of management with those players. And it was very clear towards the end of the Wilder reign that they weren't playing for him.
Yeah, it did feel like that, didn't it? Well, you could see by the performance against Coventry that they'd stopped playing for him. All the underlying data was great. Obviously, we were 4th or 5th with the data, like you mentioned there, Dana, and like you mentioned there, Tom. To be honest, I'm not bothered about Wilder's comments. I'll be honest. Like, you had it. You pretty much had like the Infinity Stones, right? And you decided to destroy them. Like that was all. The whole downfall of his time at Boro was his own doing. He was the one that wanted to talk to Burnley. He was the one that wanted to talk to Bournemouth. Like, I mean, if you want to lose trust in your players, that's one way to do it, innit? So he had it all and threw it all away. But let's move on and go to the praise and place, because the praise and place is the place. We'd like to give praise to Dana's lovely pink hair, or Tom's parents for the surprise 30th bash last night, and just so much more praise for praising stuff. I just don't know where to go with that. But
David Nugent.
And to David Nugent, of all people, the warm, soothing embrace of David Nugent. Dana, who gets your place in the praise and place this week?
It's quite easy for me, Riley McGree.
David.
I think that, yes. But honestly, I thought Riley McGree yesterday was absolutely superb. It was the best I've seen him play in a Boro shirt. Just influenced that game and then some. my friend Rob, who's a Blackpool fan, said that it was the best individual performance he's seen all season. He just, it was like Harry Potter and the Wizard of Oz, like Oz is in Australia, obviously, because it was like he was picking up so many good positions and he was just an absolute, that was terrible, wasn't it?
I just didn't know where you were going with that. Like Harry Potter and the Wizard of Oz. I was like, where's the connection? Yeah, but like
it's the most ambitious crossover since Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. I was like, where are you going with this? But I mean, I'm here for it. You know, I'm enjoying it. But like, Wizard of Oz.
He was casting those spells on Blackpool. That was why he was fantastic all throughout that game. Obviously he's got his first assist of the season, which was a very good one. Nutmeg Curtis Nelson had the most shot creating actions of the game with 4. Just honestly, such a pillar of creativity in that game, and they just couldn't deal with him. They honestly could not deal with Riley McGree. He was picking up really key spaces between the lines, and just had them in the chokehold, really. An absolutely 10 out of 10 performance from him. And I also want to mention just something that I've found out about Hayden Hackney, that I've kind of been monitoring this season. His passing accuracy has never dropped below 80% in any of the games that he's played this season. And you would say maybe with a player like that has that sort of stat reflection, it's mostly like sideways and backwards. But with Hayden Hackney, he's always looking to play that forward pass and progress the move. So yeah, just want to put that in there as well, because I think that does deserve some praise. But my man of the match for yesterday was absolutely head and shoulders above everybody else for me. In a very good team, I must say, Riley McGree.
Okay, the Wizard of Oz. So, Tom, who gets your place? Well, is it Dorothy? You know, the Tin Man, the Lion, the Scarecrow. Where are you going to go? Are you going to keep with the Wizard of Oz theme, or are you going to go somewhere else?
It's Dorothy Lenihan.
It's only actually just registered to me that I absolutely balls that up. It was the Wizard of Oz that I meant to say.
I was laughing at Dorothy Lenihan. Where the?
It should have been Dorothy, but hungover. So.
What is going on?
Oh God. I can't talk.
Harry Potter and the Wizard of what?
That's why I was so confused. I was like, does she realize? I don't know.
Didn't have it to say Wizard of Oz.
I would love to be a fly on the wall of our listeners right now. It's Monday morning. You're driving to work and you're going, Harry Potter, Wizard of Oz. What's you on about here? What? Huh?
It doesn't even sound like a hungover pod anymore, doesn't it? It just sounds like we're all still on the drink. But
right, I've watched every Harry Potter as well. Carry on.
Sorry.
Right, Tara Lenihan. I just thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday. Got his head on absolutely everything. Made a few key tackles, and he just looks better and better every week whenever he plays. I do like now as well. There seems to be a bit of a focus on set pieces. Coincidentally, since we pointed out a few weeks ago, but we seem to be improving on that. And we saw it a couple of times yesterday. It's whipped into the near post. Daryl Lenihan gets his head on it, and it's hugely glanced across the face of goal. Resulted in a goal for the third, and could have easily been a goal in the first half as well. So yeah, I've got to give it to Daryl Lenihan this week, but also is kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? A special mention for Dan Balassa when he's had his half-hour debut off the bench, because I think that the first thing he did was a pass, at a 90-degree angle with the outside of his foot to get out of a pretty dangerous position at the back. So just his range of passing yesterday was absolutely outstanding. And, if his first half hour was that good, I just can't wait to see what he can do over the course of a full game.
Yeah, he looks like a snip at 900k, doesn't he? I really, really enjoyed Dan Balassa's performance yesterday. Kept it simple, that's what you need to do when you come on and you're controlling games at 2-0. And it just made things look really easy. He was always in space, always. Always looking for the next pass, and he kind of pretty much already knew where he was passing before he even got it anyway. So it was wizardry really from him. Just keeping it wizard theme now. So my praise and place mention is probably going to go to Hagrid. I really enjoy him in the Harry Potter films.
Can we put Buckbeak in there though as well?
Probably Buckbeak, yeah. Why not? Just throw them all in. The Weasleys, just throw them all in. We're pretty much there now. But no, I will also go with Riley McGree. I thought he was amazing yesterday. What a superstar! He is, he can get his haters, and he could be inconsistent at times, but who isn't in the championship? But he was really, really good yesterday, and obviously Chuba's going to have to be there. Just for 17 goals, I'm just not used to it. As a Boro fan, seeing a striker actually score goals, it is great to see. But let's look ahead now and keep it wizard themes and talk about dragons, because we'll go to Cardiff next week, and Sabri Larouchi had a great time in his presser the other day, which is just the reason why I've got a Malt Curse t-shirt on. And let's see if you can see it there. There we go, the Malt Curse, because I'm going to absolutely curse us. So he said that it is time to panic, and admits they're in a very poor position. I am paraphrasing that because he said something a bit rude and crude. Well, they're sitting in 21st place, but the bottom three all have 2 games in hand on them, so it is a massive game, this, and pretty much every game for them. And they've got 4 defeats in a row after the defeat to Hull, and they are struggling. And they have moved though from a 5-4-1 to a 4-4-1-1, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they perform against us, because tough place to go, but I think the 3 players to look out for, probably Ryan Mantle, Kian Atete, and probably Callum Robinson as well. So is it Atete? I don't know. I've probably butchered that anyway. But yeah, really, really difficult game. But I want to hear your thoughts and predictions. Dana, what are you thinking? Do you think Boro can go to Cardiff and get something?
I mean, there's no reason why we can't, but again, this is a bit of a tricky game because they're in such bad form that you do feel as though with those games, despite it actually probably being more favourable for Boro going against the side that are down there, they're in bad form, there is always that niggling narrative saying you're going to lose. And Cardiff, sorry, I am going to say something that I probably shouldn't. They haven't won since... They haven't won since before the World Cup break, which is, I mean, if anybody has FOTMob or StatZone or anything on their phone, please look at Cardiff's form. We're going to get beat. It's just going to happen, isn't it? But you know what? Ignore that. I think we'll win. I do.
And if you want to curse Middlesbrough Football Club, like Dana does there, you can get your Malt Curse t-shirts like I'm wearing right now at t-side.co.uk/the Boro Breakdown. And you can find all of that stuff there. So thank you very much, Dana Malt. 100% of the proceeds go to the MNDA Association as well. So thank you very much for your weekly curse, Dana Malt. I didn't know how you were going to fit it in this week, but you have. Tom, sorry, were you actually going to add anything else, by the way, Dan, before I really interrupted?
No.
No, you won't.
Go on, Tom.
Cool. Go on then, birthday boy. What do you think? Win, lose, draw, match abandoned, a dragon flies on the pitch. What are you thinking?
I'm hoping for a win. I would expect us to win, given the change in mentality, really, from us, the change in standards, really, and looking back on the reverse fixture, that first half was one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen us play. So I would hope in the back of our players' minds there's that sort of thing of, we need to avenge that poor performance as well. So yeah, I'm hoping we can go there and take advantage of pretty much a fragile Cardiff side, and I'm going to go 2-0 win.
2-0 win, yeah, and I'm going to round us off. I think we'll win 1-0. tight game. I think we just break them down just at the end, and we get the 3 points and we win again. But guys, thank you very much for joining me as always, and the listeners and viewers, thank you very much for watching us and listening to us. And if you did like this podcast, give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider, and don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the Boro Breakdown on our YouTube channel as well, because that helps us get found, chatted, and all that fun stuff. But it's gloomy in the seaside, but it's sunny in Teesside. This has been the Boro Breakdown podcast. This has been Thomas Green's birthday. He's 30 today, so don't forget to wish him happy birthday. And that was all your Boro match day chatter in a pod up the Boro Breakdown.